Namaste and namaskaram to one and all present here. A very good evening to everybody. And I am CharanyaGurusathya. For many of you who already know me, I am the artistic director of Natyashala Academy of Fine Arts from Pune. And I'm also the coordinator of Indian Classical Dancers Association, ICDA. It is indeed our privilege that since the passing away of Shri Gopakumar sir, who has been the founder of ICDA, that as the coordinators, you've really taken a lot of efforts bringing in artists from across many parts of the globe and trying to connect with art lovers on various topics. On today, the main speaker for today, we have Kalaimamani Dr Lakshmi Ramaswamy. Ma'am, could you please switch on your camera? A very warm welcome to you. Before we begin with today's session, I would like to give a brief introduction of Dr. Lakshmi Ramaswamy. She is a United States Fulbright Fellow, a top grade artist, recipient of Senior Fellowship and Scholarship from the Ministry of Culture, India, the founder director of Sri Mudhraalaya. She has performed widely and has been bestowed with several prestigious and senior awards like the Acharya Kalabharati from Bharat Kalachar, the Senior Dancer Award from Narada Gana Sabha, Natya Kala Sarathi from the Parthasarthi Swami Sabha, Vedantam Satyanarayana and Bala Saraswati Award from Krishna Gana Sabha, amidst many others. Lakshmi is the first doctorate in Bharatanatyam from the music department at the University of Madras, and she has carved a niche with her extensive work on Sangam literature that includes a 3 full-length production on the Nattirai, Puranaruru and Ainkurunuru, along with her repertoire of 157 single compositions that includes rare work like Madakku, Pallu and Pudu Kavidai, and the 27-length full-length productions. And at her currently 28-year-old institute, Sri Mudhraalaya, the students are graded artists, independent teachers, marked soloists, PhD scholars, researchers, scholarship holders who have simultaneously flourished in their academic as well as in their dance careers. The classes at Sri Mudhraalaya ranges from beginners to teachers training, catering to various levels of eager learners into the field of art. A curator of the Natya Amrita Manthan, the events wing of Sri Mudhraalaya, she has also authored, co-authored and translated many dance books, served as a course director, drafted syllabus and written lessons for BA and MA in Bharatanatyam. She has been an examiner, now a PhD guide at Wales University, and she continues to serve as a guest faculty at the Madras University for MA studies for the past 15 years. She reads history, grammar, performs with a lot of commitment, teaches art in various facets to eager students, writes articles, guides research scholars, presents paper in national and international conferences, publishes books, conducts workshops, organizes seminars, and she's a great admirer of classical art and is devotedly immerses herself into Natya. Without further prolonging about the introduction, I'm sure we are all really looking forward to this wonderful work or the topic of discussion today. Many of us have heard about the Nayanmars, the 63 Nayanmars, who are all the Shaiva saints who believed and who devoted themselves to the service of Lord Shiva. And there were many other Nayanmars among the 3 trios, the Appar, Tirunana, Sambandar and Sundarar. There are many, many Nayanmars whose work were not brought out to the forefront. So today we are going to be talking about or listening more about, can I just let out the name, ma'am? Pattinathar. Yes, so Pattinathar is the saint whom we are going to be talking about in depth. So the main topic today, Aaalavathu Eppadiyo. So we are going to be, before we start, the topic was Aaalavathu Eppadiyo and Shukamargam. So we just decided to do one part of the presentation today because Shukamarga again in turn becomes another 1 hour of lecture. So we're going to divide today's lecture into 2 parts. So today is going to be about the Aaalavathu Eppadiyo and to know in depth about Pattinathar. And over to you, ma'am. So we're just eagerly waiting to listen to you.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good morning, wherever time zones you are. Thank you, Charanya, for this introduction. I'm happy to see known faces in front of me. And those of you who can put your videos on, please do. Because it's interesting to talk to people and not to just images and the stamps. So it's interesting to see people react and enjoy. So if you can put your videos on, kindly put it on. I'd like to talk to people. And yes, this is about my production, Aaalavathu Eppadiyo. You have a few people who come along in your life, and all of a sudden it becomes a very, very different relationship after a particular point of time. To me, meeting my teacher, Raghuraman sir, was one of those. And I started learning Tamil texts under him. I read the Silappatikaram. I had an opportunity to read the Tolkappiyam and understand the Meippattiyal. In one day discussion, he was talking about some poems which are very interesting because the poems are just 4 lines. But the content of the 4 lines can extend to a very big research by itself. So he told me about 2 poems. One is Yarkolo Sadurar and the other one is Aaalavathu Eppadiyo. These are questions raised in the last line of the 4-line poetry. Yarkolo Sadurar is again about Shaiva saints who have done the magic of bringing the dead alive. So among the saints who are spoken in that particular poem, who is the most adept is the question. And the poetry ends, it is up to us to see who's adept. Again, the second poetry was Aaalavathu Eppadiyo, where the poetry talks about 3 Shaiva saints. Who's talking about the 3 Shaiva saints? It is none other than Pattinathar. Pattinathar himself is a very, very respected and very, very greatly admired Shaiva saint. And what happens is he is so taken aback by some of the other Shaiva saints. If somebody talks about somebody whom we respect, talks about somebody else and he is awestruck, then who are those saints is the question. Pattinathar talks about 3 saints and the poetry is a 4-line poetry. It says, Vaalal Mahavarindu Utta Valle Nallen, Maadu Sonna Soolal Ilamai Thurakka Valle Nallen, Tondu Seydu Naallaril Kannidandappa Valle Nallen, Naan Inichendru Aaalavathu Eppadiyo Thirukkalathi Appare. This is a Tamil poetry. I know many of you do not follow Tamil. I'll give you all the explanation. To this to come out as a production, first I tried it as a solo theatre production. This was done in 2002 on a commission by the Naradagana Sabha in Chennai. They asked me to do whether I can do a solo theatre production. And that is when I even launched on this. But later, it so happened that I got the government's production grant, the central government's production grant. And when it was a production grant, I took the help of my teacher, Raghuraman sir, to do the lyrics. And the music was done by none other than Dr. Rajkumar sir. And my institution produced this. And when I explained this poetry to Rajkumar Bharati sir, I said, sir, Pattinathar himself is awestruck. He says, if these saints have done so much to get your love, your blessings, am I also eligible? How will I attain thee if I'm not able to do such big things for your sake? He also liked this particular phrase called as Aaalavathu Eppadiyo, which comes in the 4th line of the poetry, which incidentally became my title music.
Aaalavathu Eppadiyo Aaalavathu Eppadiyo Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya.
So how did this event start? As I told you, I was wonderstruck by this poem, which talks about 3 Shaiva saints. And because Patnatar asks this question of Aaalavathu Eppadiyo, how will I attain thee? How will I get your favor? How will I become one of your favorites? To us, the God is favorite. But will I become a favorite of my God is the question. So lyrics were done by my teacher, Raghuraman sir, Dr. S. Raghuraman, and the music direction went to Dr. Rajkumar Bharati. And this is the poem. The first saint who the Patnatar is like greatly admiring is Sirutondar. The poetry meaning runs thus: I cannot cut my child for a divine meal. I don't have that capacity. Or in my prime youth, for me to keep away the pleasures of youth, which actually talks about the sexual happiness. I cannot move away from that because I would want to enjoy my youth. I cannot go away from it. And I am not somebody who can pull out my eye just because the divine eye is bleeding. I cannot pull out my eye. If I cannot cut my child, if I cannot stay away from the pleasures of youth, and if I'm not also eligible, not ready to pull out my eye, will I get your blessings? Is it possible for somebody like me? Patinatar himself admires these people. What is the story? What is the story of these saints? And what are we going to give? I mean, many a time I have this wonder. Something we always talk about, this is past, this is past. How much is the past relevant to today? That is a very important point. So I took up these three stories, and it was written as a full-length production. So we had the title music, and then we had Siritonda's story, and then Nilakanda Nayanar's story is the second one. And all of you will know Kannappar because he's much familiar than the other two. This is Siritonda's story. Sirutondar was a commander-in-chief of the Pallava army. He goes up to the Kalinga region, wins the war, and then comes back. He's the one who brought the Vatapi Ganapatim. All of us will know the Vatapi Ganapatim Kirtane. He's the one who brought Vatapi after putting the whole city into fire. He brings the Vatapi Ganapati as a mark of his victory over the Orissa Kalinga region. And when he comes back, the king is so happy. He says, whatever you want, I'm ready to give you. And that is the time when Sirutondar decides that enough of the war. I don't want to be a commander-in-chief anymore. Me and wife have decided that we will henceforth be ardent devotees of Shiva, and we will take the commitment of giving food to whoever comes to our house. The Tamil literature or the Periya Puranam says, Anna Kodi. I mean, the house will have the flag of food. So anybody who's passing by can just walk into that house and they'll get food. So Anna Kodi, he started giving food for Shiva devotees in specific. And you know, this man Shiva is very interested to test people. So Shiva wants to test his devotee and his devotion. So what he does is that he makes sure that there is no devotee on that day coming to eat food. Sirutondar, who has decided that he will not eat until he has served any one Shaiva devotee per day, he is waiting and waiting and waiting. There is no Shiva devotee on that day. And so he decides to go out. He tells his wife, be ready to serve. I'll find any one of the Shiva devotees and then come back. There comes Shiva giving darshan to the wife first. And then he asks, is your wife not, is your husband not here? He knows, of course. Is your husband not at home? I wouldn't step into a house where there is no man. So what you do is when your husband comes back, tell him, I will be sitting in that huge banyan tree out there. I'll be sitting there. Ask your husband to come there. Sirutondar, who went away to find a saint, he couldn't find any Shaiva devotee. He comes back with a lot of difficulty, pain in his heart. The wife says, don't worry. There is one man who came. He's sitting under the tree. So you please go and bring him. Sirathondar goes, and there is this Shiva sitting in all grandeur under the Alamar. The one name of Shiva is Aalamar Chelvan. Like Dakshinamurti always see that tree behind. So he is there, and Sirathondar asks him, begs him to come to the house and eat a meal prepared by the wife. And I will show you dialogues also later. Shiva refuses. He says, you know what? I eat only once in 6 months. And you know what? I don't belong here. I come from the mountains. And then, okay, if you're eating after 6 months, please tell me what type of a meal that you would prefer, and I will give. And that is where Shiva says, I would prefer a meal made out of a 5-year-old child. And the child's meal should be prepared, the mother holding the child and the father cutting the child. I mean, to me, it is beyond any imagination. But such was the ardent devotee of Sirathondar, even though he's taken aback. Now imagine he has been a commander-in-chief of an army. For him, taking the sword and slashing somebody is not going to be a big thing. But child, his child. Shiva does not say his child, though. But he's very tricky to say, mother should hold, father should cut. Which mother will hold and which father will cut? That too for a meal for somebody. So Sirathondar says yes to Shiva, comes back home, and the wife is much determined. She says, yeah, our child is there. Why would we go out to find any other child? And who will give a child? Let's offer our child. He is indeed blessed to be a meal for Shiva. Let us do that. So Sirathondar brings the child. Both of them make a meal out of the child. And there is a very, very interesting character in the house. That is the cook woman. Her name is Sandanatar. By the utterance of Sirathondar's wife saying meal out of a child, immediately she understands this is not something normal. She understands it is a divine play. And she's the one who's much more grit to even help preparing the meal and serve the meal. Shiva gets very angry when the meal is served. He says, where is the head? I see the hand, I see the leg, I see the stomach. Where is the head? And Sandanatar gives a very, very beautiful smile and says, is this that you want? And after this, he says, I can't eat alone. I want somebody to join me to have the meal. I think there is a question there, hand raised. We will take the questions a little when I take a break. Is that fine? Okay.
Yes,
so he says somebody has to eat along with me. And then Sirathondar says, I can't eat unless you finish your meal. So let me wait until you finish your meal. And then Sirathondar says, you said you had a son. Bring the son. I and him will eat together. Again, the Sirathondar is taken aback. And then he says, what do I do to bring the child? Both of them go. Sirathondar calls out saying, Sirala, Sirala is the name of the child. But then, wife calls, oh, my son who's born out of the blessing of the divine. The child comes alive, running into them. Both of them are delighted to see their child back again. And when they look out for the saint who came and tested them, he's no more there. Shiva has vanished from the place, and there both of the couple, they get the darshan of Shiva. This is Sirathondar's story. Then we have Nilakanta. Nilakanta is a simple potter who takes the commitment to give a pot to a Shaiva saint one day. So there are people who take the pot from him, and then he, at one point of time, shows his interest in other women. And then he goes behind a woman who's actually noted by one of the friends of his Nilakanta's wife. So the woman comes and tells the wife, you know what, your husband is going behind the other woman. So I'm just wanting to inform you this, that's it. So when Nilakanta comes back, the wife is very angry. She says, in the name of Shiva, never ever touch me. She takes a vow in the name of the god's name Nilakanta. Tindvi Rahil Tirunilagandam, she says. So Taken aback, Neelakanta doesn't touch his wife anymore in his life. He also says that it's a mistake that I had done before. So it is not only my wife. I will never ever touch a wife, never ever touch a woman in my life. The couple continued to serve the Shiva devotees, making the pots and gifts. Again, Shiva comes to test them. He comes and says, I have a very interesting bowl with me. It is a very rare one. And will you be able to keep it with you safe? I'm going on a journey. So when I come back, I will just pick up the bowl from you. I understand that you're a potter. I understand that you are an ardent Shiva devotee. Can you do this for me? And Neelakanta accepts to keep the pot. And because it is Shiva's testing, the pot absconds from its place. Shiva, the couple get older. Shiva comes back. And then he asks for his bowl, which is not to be found. Both the husband and wife are so disturbed, they are not able to find the bowl. And they are searching here and there. And finally, Shiva calls out to the people. All of you are telling that this man is a very great Shiva devotee. You know what? He's such a cheap stuff. He even stole my bowl, which I gave it to him to be kept in safe custody. And I don't think he's a Shiva devotee because he has stolen my bowl. And Neelakanta says, no, we are not that people. I had really kept it in safe custody, but it is missing. Then Shiva says, okay, if I have to take your word, take your wife's hand and promise that you have not stolen my bowl. And that is when the couple disclose the fact that they have not touched each other in the whole of their youth, and now that they are old. Actually, the intention of the God is to know the commitment. Everybody should know the commitment. What is happening inside the house, others will not know. So the God decides everybody to know the commitment of this couple. And he says, okay, I can understand your situation. I'll give you a small stick. Both of you hold on each side. Take a dip in that particular temple tank and prove yourself not guilty. The husband and wife hold the stick, get into the water, and when they come out of the water, they are back with their youth. The youth which they have lost, the youth which they left for the commitment of the God by one name, they get back their youth, they are back, and everybody is astonished seeing this. Again, the man who tested is no more there. He has vanished, and he gives a darshan to both the couple and says, long live your commitment. And Kannapar, I don't think I even have to tell you the story. Kannapar is born a tribal. He goes. I have taken the storylines in the idea of Periya Puranam. So the storyline goes thus: the father crowns the son as the to be king, and to prove that he is good enough to be a king, the given name to Kannapar earlier is Tinnan. So Tinnan goes to prove that he is capable to be a king. So he has to hunt. So while he goes to hunt, he takes two of his friends, Kadan and Nadan, along with him. Kadan and Nadan also travel along with Tinnan, and Kadan, Nadan, Tinnan, both of them do a very good of hunting. And while they're a little tired and they look up, he sees the Kudmiyamalai there, the temple of Shiva, the place where we know about Kalahasti. Kudmiyamalai is next to the Kalahasti temple. If you visit Kalahasti, you can see the Kudmiyamalai nearby. And then he's so drawn by the sight of the mountain, and he ascends the mountain. He sees the God all alone. And there he takes a vow saying, we are all tribal people. We always live in a gang, people together, gang. We eat together, we sleep together, we dance together, we sing together, but you are alone. Don't worry, I will take care of you. That I will take care of you becomes his test. God wants to see how he will take care of him. So there comes the bleeding eye. Then Tinnan pulls out one eye and tries to heal. Then the second eye also bleeds. Now he's again ready to pull out the second eye. And, if I have to say this in Tamil, Kadavula merati darshanam vaangina orutharnaka adu vandu Kannapar. All others requested the God to give darshan or blessing. But, the God came running to Tinnan and said, stop. I don't pull your second eye. I'm there for you. So this is the storyline. I will want to point out how I have put it together, the story and the Aaalavathu Eppadiyo idea and the scenes together. And there was this one Lata who raised the hand. Should I take the question now, Sharanya?
maybe, okay. If she can type it on the chat box, would that be fine?
Okay.
Lata, are you there? If you can actually type it on the chat box, would be nice.
So before we actually get into the stories and seeing the visuals that I'm going to present, what is the outcome of these stories? Why do we need the old stories? Your centuries behind and all that. Can't we take contemporary stories? Now, many of these stories, if you carefully note, there'll be some moral behind it. There'll be some ethics behind it. There is some dharma which is to be spoken. So even if we understand in Artishastra, Indra goes and asks Brahma, Krida Niyagam Ichchamu. Give something which is playful, but which can also indicate the moral of life to people. So the history of or the idea of Natyas itself, taking good values to people, and it is couched in what we call as a story. Somebody sees a Kaliya being, completely put down by Krishna, they can probably understand my Kaliya or my arrogance will be put down by one Krishna. If there is somebody who is doing something bad, and then on a good day when they realize this story, oh, let me not be that bad. So these mythological stories bring out some ethics and some through the beautiful idea of the stories. And one another thing is, if you look at this particular poem, Aaalavathu Eppadiyo, all of us at some point of time would have crossed some test of time at some point of time. And when you are really at a very difficult time, that is when everybody's mind has a question, why me? There are so many people out there in the world and they are very happy, I think. But why me? Why am I always getting into difficulty? Why am I always having this struggle? Why me? And this is a question which I think to be answered is that God doesn't test who are not up to his test. It's like a teacher. If I want to ask a question to a student, I will probably ask a student who can give an answer. And when I ask a question and when the student comes back with the answer, I'm double thrilled more than the student. That whatever I have taught or whatever she has understood and whatever she has put together in her understanding, she answers the question. So I'm double happy. Like that, the God is also double happy when his devotees pass the test. So the test is to most people who can actually pass the test, and the test is not to people who will fail. So when you are tested and when you pass out of the test, more than you, the God is more happy. And he's definitely going to shower you with much more of blessings, much more happily and much more in abundance is what I think is the outcome of this particular story. And if a Patinatar cannot understand how can I become your slave or how can I be your favorite, then I think we will become the favorite of God's. I'll tell you the answer later. So we will move into the making of Aaalavathu Eppadiyo. One by one, I'll show a few snippets. We decided on the melody and then the tune and then how to open each of the segments. When we look at the characters of the Sirithondar, Neelakandar and Kannappar, the first one is a royal person, completely classic. The second one is a layman, and he's somebody like a folk person. And the third one is a tribal person. So the openings of each of the story, one was classic, I chose a Mallari. The second was a sort of layman, normal, public. So I chose a folk tune. And for the tribal, I used a little of the tribal tune. And then we have the end of the stories and the darshans. Each darshan is different. And then I included all the ideas of the storyline in my presentation, in the production. And there was also an inclusion of a kumi in between, so that we make it much colorful. So I told you about the classical, folk and tribal. And then I also used the Chollakattas like Dhamaru for a jati. That is the first entry of Shiva into the whole picture of the production. There is a Dhamaru Cholkatta. And there is also a Namah Shivaya jati. So let me first go to the kumi. I'm taking the videos out of my laptop. So every time there might be 1 or 2 minute delay so that I have to switch the windows, kindly bear with me. Okay, so this is Sirithundar and the wife who have come back from the royal place. The child is born. So people come and visit the child, the newborn child. And this is where I use the kumi. If you see here, I have used the kumi on the floor level, and I have used Sirithundar and the wife, because in cinema you can have the long shot and the close-up. In a live presentation, how will you show the reaction of Sirithundar as much as the kumi? So I have used the double stage to show the reaction of Sirithundar and the wife, and also the people enjoying doing the kumi along. If you had also noticed, I had played with the colors of the costume. I chose 3 colors for the dancers. One is a blue, one is a green, and one is this, what you call kavi or orange. The dancers who wore the kavi were the dancers who did the role of the Shaiva saints. The others took many characters along each of the stories. So if you had noticed, all of them were in mixed colors when they walked in and did the kumi. And by the end of the kumi, you see the greens on one side, the blues on one side, and the orange here. So I had just little played with the colors of this. I'll move to the next one. The 3 type of openings. The first was a Mallari. So this is the opening of the whole production itself. This is Sirithundar coming back after winning the war. Whereas the conversation between Sirithundar and the king is like, I have put the whole city of Vatapi into fire. So both are happening simultaneously. The conversation between the king and the commander, and that which is talked to the audience. have through the Mallari, I have also said the king is ready to give anything. Siritonda refuses everything, and he says, I'm going to go to the service of Shiva. I don't want any war anymore. So we weaved that storyline also into the Mallari. As everybody is astonished, Siritonda determinedly walks away from the king's court. The video is about the folk. Where we had the introduction to Neelakandar, because Neelakandar is a potter, and the people there around, they like a market scene this is. That's the entry, or that's the opening of this particular scene. And then the next video is about the Chollus, the Damara Chollus and the Namashivaya Cholkat.
Rukka, takka, da, ma, rukka, dum, 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 takka, rukka, takka, da, ma, rukka, dum, dum, dum.
So that is the Cholkattu which I had used there. And then the next one is about Namashivaya, a Cholkattu of Namashivaya.
Na, ma, shi, va, ya, shi, va, ye, na, ma, shi, va, ya, shi, va, ye, shi, va, shi, va, na, ma, shi, va, ye, shi, va, ye, na, ma, shi, va, ye, shi, va, ye, shi, va, na, ma, Shiva, ye Shiva, ye na, ma Shiva, ye Shiva.
So that was the next Cholkattu where I had used the Namah Shivaya. Then the example, some minor strands, certain things which you will not notice generally in a story, but how that is also included through the part of the story. Especially, you know, I told about Sandanathar, who's the cook. She's the first one who realizes Shiva. It is none other than Shiva. Siritundar, who's the saint, has not understood. The wife devotee has also not understood, but it's Sandanathar who first understands this is not a normal request. This man is definitely different. So that is Sandanathar. When the conversation of Siritundar happens, she identifies and then she is fine with it. Before that, I have this video where, you know, when Shiva comes to take the meal, there is a Pada Puja which is done by both the Siritundar and the wife. He has come with all eagerness to bless them, but the disguise is to test them. So he shows as if he is testing, but actually has come to bless. So there is one stern look and there is also one kind look which comes between the movements. There, he blesses them when they are not noticing, and then the next video where Sandanathar listens to the conversation and silently smiles and she's assured of it. Siritundar is back after the conversation with Shiva. He's going to tell his wife that this is the type of the meal that the man is asking. I think you're noticing Sandanathar, the backdrop. That's it. A very silent and very subtle usage. Then the next video is cutting the child itself. There were discussions whether you should actually have the child, real child, to do the movement or not have. I was very sure I did not want the real child to be on the stage, because what I wanted to know is the nicety of the story and not the gory stuff that can probably stick into people's mind. So I did not use a child. It was only done as a very subtle idea. And even the cutting part of it, when I say cutting, it looks a little harsh, but it was handled very, very subtly. So that's all. I did not make it longer. I just tried to make it as short as possible. Just because it's a part of the story and it has nothing else to not to stick on to people's mind. And the next video is about how they dutifully serve the Lord. I mean, after cutting the child, both the father and the mother, they have taken it as a duty. So they very dutifully serve the guest who's there. As people, as normal people, we might get moved by the idea of cutting the child, or you may feel very sad, or you can't also be happy to serve like anybody guest. So it is neither sad nor happy, but very dutifully serving the food.
மாதொரு பாகத்தான் தலையும் ஈரென்றே சந்தனத்தார் எடுத்தளித்தார்.
And there is a very subtle eye exchange between Sandanathar and Shiva. Okay. The next video is about the melody part of how we use the dialogues just as in melody. When I told the story, I told you about Shiva sitting under the tree and Sirithundar going and asking him to please come and take part of the meal that has been prepared. So how does the conversation go?
தாய் பிடிக்க ஓர் மகவின் புலாலை அந்தரத்தானும் முன்னுதற்கு தா.
So that is the dialogue where he's asking for the food. Then the next video is about again a dialogue between the woman who sees Neelakanta Nayanar in the next story going behind another woman. So she comes and tells the wife that she saw him going behind another woman. Dialogue done in music. So that is the dialogue which was done in music. And then I think the next video. This is Shiva meeting Neelakanta Nayanar and then telling him that he doesn't need any of his pot or something, but just to keep safe the bowl that he is going to give him.
கலம் ஒன்று தந்து இதை யான் கேட்கும் நாளில் நீ அமைவாகத் தர வேண்டும் என்று சொல்லி மறைந்து போனார்.
He has taken it already. And then the next video is about sorry for the gaps because I'm switching on the window to window. The next video is about Shiva coming back and asking for the bowl. The best of the bowl I gave you for safety, and you have not done that. And Cholukattu has been done for this, and the voice is Rajkumar Bharati Annas.
taka takita taka takita taka takita ta takita 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 ta dheem targada dheem targada dheem targada. Taddinginnatum 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 ta.
And that is where he confesses that he cannot touch his wife even for a promise because they have taken a vow. Sharanya, it is 7:30. Can I still continue? I have more videos. Another 5 to 6 videos are there. Can I continue?
Should we go to the Kannapar and come back? I think.
Yeah, Kannapur, I have only a few things to say because it's a very well-known story. The
Okay.
idea of comedy. See, most of us, when we take the classical performances, we take more serious stuff. God, divine, etc., etc., etc. And then we talk about philosophy and very serious dharma, ethics, and all that. Between such a very, very serious story, I used Kannapur to have the comedy. The two friends of Kannapur are called as Kadan and Nadan. And because Kannapur, thin and known as thin at that point of time, has to prove that he's he can do the hunting very well. So he takes both of them along and he goes for the hunting. And I'll see which video. Kadan Nadan is 25. Give me a moment, please.
காடன் நாடனுடன் ஏகினான் திண்ணன் காடன் நாடனுடன் ஏகினான் திண்ணன்.
Simultaneously, I'll talk about the jewelry. They're using the feathers because they are the hunter people. And there's a little of hide, some hide on their chest area. So that is one place where I used the comedy, and it was received very well. And one very subtle small thing I'll talk about and then finish probably. The musician does something out of their interest. You are telling something to the musician, the music director, to make something. There was this cute swaram which was made by Rajkumar Bharati sir, and it was used for the thalat. You heard the kummi already. The same music was again used when the child was brought back for cutting. We see in the movies, right, one happy song, and then everything changes in the family, and then the same sad song becomes sad. In that idea, I had used the sad part of the music in a stretched form. That is one thing in the music that we did. And one swaram which is like pa dha ga, pa dha ga. When the pa comes, I use the pa swaram to denote father, appa. So it comes in the flute, and they are both the parents are bathing the child, getting ready the child to take for the first day school. And then that is when the child says pa. The mother is so happy and she says, he's calling you as pa. The father says, it's not me. Probably he knows the pa there. And that is one thing which I used only the swaram to indicate this. Give me a moment, I'll have to pull out the video. It comes immediately when I play it. Padaga. So then what does the father want from the child? What does the mother want from the child? The mother says, please, you should be good. We should help others and all that. The father says, you should be such a brave person and all that. The expectation of the mother and then the expectation of the father. Okay. So it's almost the end. There are more videos though, but I don't want to cross the time. Every bit has been chiseled because it was one of my earlier productions. We sat and the music director was so patient to listen to every one of my statements. And that is why the sentiment is reflected so well. And generally, I will say, if you tell your musicians to say, over 3 minutes to play the Sanchari, then they'll play whatever comes to their mind. But if you say, this is a sad scene, this is a happy scene, this is a very strong, profound stuff, then probably they might give you a much better, different music that goes along with the mood of what the dancer or the production is trying to say. So coming to the answer, you know, we used the answer in the Tilana, where I said, the God doesn't want all those puja and mala and costume and jewelry, tapas, no, nothing that he wants. What the God is finally testing you is the job that you have taken. What is your job and how much are you committed to your job? Sirutondar was a warrior. He was given the test of cutting a child. Neelakandar was a very passionate person. He was given the test of not to touch the wife throughout his time. Kannappa Nayanar said, I will take care of you. And how much will you take care of me was the question. The pulling out, because he's a hunter, he knows how to shoot the arrow on other animals. How will he pull out his own? So his own arrow becomes his test. So finally, what God wants is only the commitment. And if at all you are into test, believe me, you will win. That's it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. But before I just open the floor for participants, couple of questions from my end. How much time did you actually take to research? I'm sure you are so well versed in Sangam literature. You must have been reading this throughout during your course of your work, but that was one. And especially the time taken, see, there's obviously going to be in phases. One is to research, then time taken to compose music, and then also imagine a choreography, compose the music, and then choreograph it, and then comes to the stage. So I really
when I tried it for the first time, it was a solo theater. I did every character of the story. It was a solo theater when I tried it in 2002. But then I didn't get an opportunity to present it anywhere. There was only one show. It so happened when the government said a production grant, and I applied. That was in 2012, 10 years. And then when I got the grant from the government, a part of the grant, then I made it. I said, this time I don't want a solo theatre. I will use my students. At this point of time, I have to thank every one of them to have given time for everything that I wanted to feed them. This is the character. This is how you stand. This is how you talk. This is how you hold yourself. And I know people who cried when the child cutting scene happened. And they all said, how did you even do that? Because it is like, that is the rasa, that is what we talk about, right? I'm not doing it outside. The rasa is from your own inside. If I'm able to, pinpoint that rasa, and if that is seen, and that is the best part. And till today, there are people who remember this production. They said, if at all you do Aaalavathu Eppadiyo, keep me informed. And definitely it took a sort of I think the music was done in one March. And then the recording was done in April, May. And then the production was staged in August. So I was in between doing one set of choreography and then going to the studio. And then after the studio, there'll be some minor changes. Again, coming back and doing the corrections. And then the costume, I chose this orange, blue, and green. Jewelry were done. I couldn't show the pictures of the jewelry. There was a snake here. And then the other type of thing. And for Shiva especially. I'm somebody who will not believe in it. You have to change yourself completely. If you have to be Shiva, put all matted lacs and have every bit of blue color and all that. And I just used, everybody had a red blouse. So the Paramatma is a little in every Jivatma. And the Paramatma completely comes in the red. And there was one indication of one moon here, indication of snake here, and then a little of tiger skin on the waist. That is all I did for Shiva. And I had a little of, folded hair. That's all I did. So I believe in the suggestion more than actually dressing up completely as a character. And it also gave me convenience because I had only 12 dancers with me. They had to also do many characters in between. The one who comes as a Shiva devotee in the second story is the main devotee, Sirutondar, in the first story. So the Shiva devotees alone, I kept, just for that portion, they had only that orange or that kavi color. And the others had many characters to do. So a sort of maybe 6 months, 5 to 6 months, I think, to answer your question.
Oh, such a wonderful production. And I mean, I can't imagine 2022, it's almost close to 20 years and it's still so relevant even today. And so many things that we are able to, in fact, at those times, the amount of technology that was there, I can still remember. Probably that was the time when I was still learning to do Jatiswaram or a Padam at that time. But to bring in the effect of lighting with the costume and present it, it's looking really amazing. So I'm sure, I think it again goes forward as to when you're going to do Aaalavathu Eppadiyo again, please keep the ICTA also informed. We will surely promote this and looking forward to see it live whenever you bring it back again. I shall just leave the forum open maybe for the next 5 minutes so that if they have any questions, they can answer.
Hi, Arunima. Hi, Sujata.
Okay, the forum is right now open. Ma'am, you also might have to unmute yourself. So you may raise your hand so that you can ask your questions one after the other. Any questions by anybody? Yes, you can feel free to unmute yourself. I think we have Ms. Lata, who is back here. I can see her unmuted, but I'm not able to hear her.
Yeah, I'm also not able to hear her. She was the one who raised the hand.
Yeah, right at the beginning. Okay, anybody else? You could. Actually, I mean, in this process, even the dialogues, there's like a music and suddenly there is a dialogue which flows through. I think that gets a connect to the audience.
Very much. We could have used the dialogues, then it will be very direct. As I told you, I enjoy the suggestiveness because it's a vast, you will show it vast. Even in olden day movies, when they want to show a romantic scene, they will show 2 flowers and then bring it closer. Yeah, that's all. It is up to your mind to imagine to any extent that you want. how much ever you want the romance to be imagined in your mind, it is open. But if you actually show the romance in front of you.
Correct. And also keeping in mind the Bharatanatyam format, because we are more into expressions. The moment there is a lyric or a dialogue, we start a padartham. It just becomes like a padartham rather than the experience of making it more impromptu.
So even something like a smile, even something like a turn back, all had some meaning in connection with the story. And there are so many other things which I have pulled up, but I overshot the time, I think. So even, when Sirutundar goes and calls the son to come for the making the divine meal, he first calls the child and holds the hand, and then he starts walking. And then he realizes it is no more his son. It is supposed to be a prasadam at that point of time. So he carries the child on the shoulder and then walks to the house. I mean, we can't tell this when the production is happening. But in this forum, I think I can tell all this so that you will enjoy. If at all you get to watch, if at all I get to present, I don't know. Fingers crossed. So on the bringing the child even on shoulder, that had a very big meaning at that moment.
Can I?
But yes. Jati Akka, the Damru Jati is just so unique and so well placed. Adamari ketade illa.
And that was the first entry which in this story Shiva enters. So Shiva enters at the Damaru Jati. It just I felt like I can do something with Damaru, and then dum taka ruka taka Damaru dum 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 da ma ru ka da ma ru ka dum ma ru ka dum taka ruka taka. And because we went for a recording, we also had the convenience of using the Damaru along with the Solakat. Thank you, Sujata.
Yes, Arun.
Okay. First of all, Akka, beautiful thing. And Shiva's Akka, you are looking so awesome, Akka, seriously. And like what Akka told, like whenever it is happening, actually, I also want to see it like lively, Akka, definitely. One thing what I want to say, actually, it is asked that Damaru, that one, how you came with that Damaru. And next thing, the Namah Shivaya, you had that Akka, one piece with Namah Shivaya. For that, I think you did with like Shiva and Shiva and Parvati.
Yeah, Shiva.
How you came? Shiva.
Yeah, how I don't know, but it's so. I felt like I wanted to use a Damaru, and then it was both of them. I thought Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Shivaya, Shiva, Shiva, Namah Shivaya, Shivaya. So Shiva and Shivai together, because they're going to test on the youth of the devotees at that point of time. So she smiles at him, something like that. So both of them are, turning back, and then he says, wait, I have that devotee, I have to go and bless him enough. He's already getting old. So there is a happy dance, and then there is a test, and then again the darshan. So the three darshans I wanted to point out is like, in the first story, it is Shiva, Parvati, and Muruga as darshan for Sirutondar because it's a child story. The second story, darshan, I have Shiva and Parvati. In the third story, darshan, I have Shiva alone because Kannappa mortified the god. So he didn't have time to bring everybody along with him. He said, stop Kannappa, I'm here there for you. So three type of darshans, three type of stories, classical, folk, and tribal elements. And then a lot of subtleties I enjoy that bit. Than to say everything loud, I enjoy those things which are very, very subtle. And all of you here are dancers, so probably you will also enjoy the subtlety if you get to watch.
Especially now when everything is so exaggerated, right? The purity is there only when you limit, and the auchityam solval.
Romba correct. ஒரு அளவுக்கு தான் சொல்லணும். ஏன்னா எனக்கு ரகுராமன் சாருக்கு கூட ஆர்குமெண்ட் இருக்குது. அங்க ஒரு குழந்தையை கொண்டு வந்தா ரொம்ப நல்லா இருக்கும். Let us bring the child and show. It will be very, very strong. I said, I don't want that. I saw Shri walking into this meeting sometime before. Srilata, my dear friend Srilata, and after the performance, she said, how did you even do that thing, man? This was her first comment. I really brought a child and cut. I still remember Shri's comment on that particular scene because most of us now we will know what the child is. And it is something very, very hard or harsh. In between all that harshness, I wanted to make it as cool as possible, because the idea was to test and not to bring the gory things into your mind's head. And incidentally, they only underwent the Maya of the child being cut, but the child came back. The child was not actually cut. It was only a Maya they went through. That's all. Finally, they got the blessings also.
Okay, one more. Can I ask? Last. Okay, is this like folk song and in tribal song, if there is any instruments which is used, which is none other than this from our classical?
Yeah, for the tribal, we use that particular thing called as Nagara. Veda Krishnan sir used Nagara to bring the type of sounds, all that he used some. And then here we used that, the gumiki of Mridangam itself was useful for the folk. So not more instruments. There was a Damuru, there was a Nagara. Other than that, it was only violin, flute, and the Mridangam. That's all.
I think it's such a wonderful, and I think we can go on talking about this. So such a magnanimous work. Probably you should also document it and keep it in some library, because as it is, it's more than 20 years old. Probably 10 years down the line, we will have some more youngsters who are not even aware of who is Patinathar. So maybe you can document and keep it in a library which can be accessed by many researchers who would want to maybe take it ahead from your work.
True.
That is,
one of my students is trying to help me with documentation, because I forget. After I do a production, I'll forget.
No, I think
I have no idea of what I have done before. So these students, Akka, on the party, you have done it already. Oh, Appadiya. Okay, fine. And then the student is now trying to document and put everything into files. First, we have to document myself. I mean, like whatever I have done, gather and bring it. Then maybe we can always open. What am I going to take back? Nothing.
Sure.
Definitely want to leave everything back and give it to people who are looking forward. And that reminds me, if I can use this forum to tell, I'm doing a lighting workshop next Friday. That is coming Friday. And it is done none other by Anita Ratnam Akka, and with Victor Paulraj assisting with the lights. It's going to be a one full day of workshop. Bharati was so interested, and then she said, oh, it's on site. How will I come? But at least people who are in Chennai, please understand the value of it and come. Make use of it, because I'm going to spend nearly like 1,75,000 rupees to arrange this. The fee is like less than 1/10 or less than 1/100th. So one full day with Anita Ratnam Akka and her knowledge, which she's ready to share, is available as a workshop coming Friday. So if at all who's in Chennai, if you want to come, next Friday, 25th of March, morning to evening, please make use of it. I want to reach all the youngsters to use. We have so much of equipments, but how do you want to use their equipments? How do you know which is the best for you at that point of time? Even here in this production, even though we sat for lights 2-3 days, you can see minor flaws happening. The dancer has come and the light is still not on. But we wrote notes for every second of the production. Still, there is some lapse here and there. So we have the equipment and all, but how to use it to the best of the knowledge. So at this time is going to be only the basics of lighting. So those of you who are in Chennai and interested, please walk in. Please make use of this workshop. And yeah, thanks for allowing me to talk about the workshop in this space.
Akka, you can actually share a flyer. We will float it on ICDA. So if you can have some last minute entries who would be willing to take.
Yes, yeah, we are willing, because now the corona restrictions are not there.
Yes.
We can have the fullest of the hall. So anybody who's interested, we will definitely want them to make use of this opportunity. We cannot get Anita Ratnam Akka every time with Victor Paulraj and whole food tea assured, along with food for thought.
Sure. Thank you so much for your valuable time. And I'm sure as we began, we are not going to be ending this session today. We are going to be taking the second part of this session, the Shukha Margam. Sometime later, we will keep you all posted. And until then, have a nice weekend, all of you. And Shubharatri and Bharati Akka, thank you so much for, doing all the PR before and talking to Lakshmi ma'am, and that we are here with her today, understanding her work. Looking forward to more interactive sessions with you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Actually, I've during this pandemic, I've experienced a workshop, 1 week workshop with Lakshmi ma'am, where about the Tolkappiyam and so on was superb. I really enjoyed that 1 week and I gained a lot of things from ma'am. That video sharing today, excellent ma'am. Simply superb. I got no other words because here for us in Malaysia, I think this is excellent. As Charanya was telling, we should have a library where the juniors, they should come over into Chennai and then go and visit. And
First let people come and watch the performance.
I know.
Yeah,
He's asking, can I have it online? Can I have it? I can understand when Bharati asks from Malaysia whether it is online. But Chennai people are asking, is it online? And I'm like, how do I do this online?
And if I'm there, I mean, definitely. Because
I know.
from our school project, my husband does the MC, he'll be the host, and then he also does the lighting work. So when I was telling him that we are arranging this kind of lectures demonstration today, and I told him, ma'am is organizing for a lighting session. They say he quickly told me, hey, please take my number, register me. I didn't even notice that it is hosting in Chennai auditorium. Then only when I checked, ma'am was telling, hello, is your husband in Chennai now? Then only I looked at actually what is the main content because Lakshmi Amma production or seri I watched in YouTube. So we all foreigners, we really want to learn, want to watch and want to experience. That's the main thing. Anyway, thank you so much, ma'am, for the first session. And I hope that the Shubha Marga, I will join it too. And few of my students are here today. I hope they also benefited from you. Thank you, Charanya.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Everybody.
And just to give Akka, just to give a feedback, we had around 60 participants today, somewhere at the middle of the session. So which is actually a wonderful thing for ICDA. Because since passing away of Gopakumar sir, it has quite been a struggle as coordinators to get in youngsters, even to watch a live online. Also, we were struggling the initial few sessions where we had just 10 and 20. And so I'm so happy that today we have around 60 participants. Actually, I'm so happy that they're all here. Please keep supporting, attend all the sessions. Looking forward to seeing you all in the next session. Namaste to all of you and namaskaram.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you everyone for being here, giving me time. And I enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.